The galactic briefing was broadcast across hundreds of worlds, transmitted through hyperspace relays to every corner of the known galaxy. Alien species of all kinds tuned in, from the amphibious Murexians to the insectoid Grex. The Council's offer was simple and clear: chart the uncharted quadrant near the galactic core. A region filled with hostile, deadly planets that had swallowed countless explorers without a trace. The reward was vast, enough to retire a whole generation of a species. Yet the job remained unclaimed for centuries. Every species in the galaxy knew the risks. The quadrant was littered with Deathworlds, environments so hostile that no known technology, strategy, or biology had ever conquered them. But the Deathworlders? They didn't hesitate. In the crowded atrium of the galactic spaceport, the human crew stood out like predators in a pack of prey. Captain Sarah Callahan, tall and severe, scanned the terminal with her ice-blue eyes. Her team followed her with the kind of ease that came from years of facing life-threatening situations together. "We're really doing this," Zeke muttered, his usual smirk slipping into something more serious as he glanced at the towering hologram announcing the mission's details. "I thought we'd at least have to arm wrestle for the contract." "Seems like we're the only ones crazy enough," Marla said, adjusting the strap of her weapons bag on her shoulder. "Or smart enough." Jonas, their pilot, grinned. "Or both." The terminal buzzed with hushed conversations and sideways glances from various alien crews. The humans moved through the throng without fear, signing their names to the digital contract projected above the recruitment desk. Their signatures flickered for a moment in bright blue holographic light before being swallowed by the galactic bureaucracy, confirming what everyone already knew: humans were the only ones reckless, or maybe capable, enough to take on the galaxy's most dangerous job. Sarah approached the recruitment officer, a small reptilian alien whose frills trembled as he reviewed the data. "You know the terms, Captain Callahan?" His voice was strained, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. "Your odds of survival are—" "We know the odds," Sarah cut in. Her tone left no room for doubt. "And we're not here to discuss them." The officer nodded, clicking something nervously on his tablet. "Very well. Your ship is cleared for launch. May your gods be merciful, Captain." Sarah turned without another word, leading her team through the bustling terminal toward the loading dock where their ship awaited. The Dauntless was an advanced piece of human engineering, built to withstand the most hostile environments known to their species, and hopefully, those unknown. As the massive doors opened to reveal the sleek, battle-hardened craft, Zeke let out a low whistle. "Still can't believe we get paid for this." Sarah shot him a sharp look, her lips curling into the slightest hint of a smile. "Don't celebrate yet. The real challenge starts when we leave this dock." With the engines roaring to life, the humans prepared to venture into the unknown, the quadrant that had claimed so many before them. But unlike the others, they weren't afraid. They were human. Deathworlders. And they thrived where others feared to tread. The Dauntless shuddered as it exited hyperspace, plunging into the uncharted quadrant near the galactic core. Outside the viewing deck, the darkness of space seemed to ripple with violent energy, chaotic in a way that defied the laws of physics. Planets loomed ahead, their surfaces scorched, ravaged by time and nature. The quadrant was a cosmic graveyard, its history written in extinction events. "Brace yourselves," Jonas said, his hands steady on the controls. "We've got incoming debris." Asteroids, like a swarm of predators, moved erratically in space, jostled by gravity wells and solar storms. Jonas maneuvered through them with practiced ease, avoiding the larger rocks as the ship descended toward their first target, a small, green planet shrouded in a thick atmosphere. "That's the one," Sarah said, her voice calm but alert. "Preliminary scans show a stable atmosphere and life signs. We'll set down on the southern continent." Zeke leaned forward, his eyes on the incoming planet. "Stable atmosphere, huh? Why do I feel like that's an understatement?" The planet's surface came into view as the Dauntless pierced through the cloud cover. The landscape was jagged and broken, with towering mountains and deep chasms slicing across the land. Acidic rain sizzled against the ship's hull, and the ground below shifted unpredictably, as if the planet was alive, constantly changing beneath them. Jonas set the ship down on a flat outcrop overlooking a massive canyon. The landing gear hissed as it made contact with the unstable surface, and Sarah was the first to stand. "Gear up," she ordered. "We'll take a recon sweep, gather what data we can, then head back before the weather worsens." The crew suited up in their reinforced exosuits. As they stepped onto the planet's surface, the weight of the atmosphere pressed down on them. The air was thick, tainted with sulfur and other unidentifiable compounds. The acidic rain splattered harmlessly against their armor, but the smell was rank, clinging to their suits. "Lovely place," Zeke said dryly. "I can see why nobody made it back." They moved cautiously, scanning the terrain with handheld devices. Strange plant life clung to the rocks, some of it bioluminescent, casting an eerie glow in the dim light. But it wasn't the flora that concerned them. It was the absence of fauna, despite the scans showing life forms. "They're hiding," Marla whispered, her eyes scanning the jagged landscape. "They know we're here." Moments later, they found out why. A creature burst from the ground, its leathery hide blending with the rocky terrain. It had 6 limbs, each ending in razor-sharp talons, and it moved with terrifying speed. Jonas barely had time to fire before it lunged, its jaws snapping inches from his helmet. "Take it down," Sarah shouted. The crew responded with lethal precision. Plasma rifles blazed, and the creature shrieked as it fell to the ground, its body twitching before going still. "That was too close," Jonas muttered, his voice shaking slightly. Sarah surveyed the area, her jaw tight. "This planet isn't just dangerous, it's waiting for us to make a mistake. Stay sharp. This is only the beginning." They had just entered the maw of the beast, and the worst was yet to come. The ruins loomed before them, half buried beneath layers of shifting rock and sediment. Towering structures of an ancient, forgotten civilization rose like the bones of some long-dead giant, their surfaces etched with symbols none of the crew could decipher. Despite the eerie silence, the ruins pulsed with a strange energy, as though something deep within was stirring. "This place gives me the creeps," Zeke muttered, adjusting his visor to get a better look at the alien architecture. "It's too quiet." Sarah led the team deeper into the ruins, her instinct screaming that something was wrong. The air was thick with tension, and the ground beneath their feet vibrated, almost imperceptibly, as if the planet itself was alive. They reached what looked like the central chamber of the ruin, an enormous hall filled with broken machinery and strange, glowing crystals embedded in the walls. "This is it," Marla said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The energy source we've been tracking. It's coming from below." Sarah knelt by one of the control panels, dusting off the surface. The alien technology was old but functional. "Zeke, can you access this?" Zeke stepped forward, pulling out his toolkit. "Give me a minute. I'll see what I can do." As he worked, the rest of the team kept watch. The atmosphere in the chamber felt oppressive, as if something immense was lying dormant beneath them. Jonas paced nervously, his eyes flicking from shadow to shadow. "Anyone else getting the feeling we shouldn't be here?" Before anyone could respond, Zeke hit a final key, and the ground trembled violently. The crystals in the walls flared to life, casting a blinding light across the chamber. Deep below, a low, rumbling sound echoed upward, like the roar of a waking beast. "What the hell did you do?" Jonas yelled, steadying himself as the ground shook. "I just turned it on." Zeke shouted back, frantically trying to shut down the system. No, this thing is way beyond me. It's not just machinery, it's alive." Sarah grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him back. "Fall back." Everyone, move. The team sprinted toward the entrance as the tremors intensified. Cracks spread across the floor, and the ground split open behind them. A massive, biomechanical construct began to rise from the depths, its body a twisted amalgamation of metal and organic matter. It towered over the ruins, its glowing eyes locking onto the fleeing humans. "Is that a machine?" Marla gasped, looking back in horror. "No," Sarah said grimly. "It's a weapon." The entity roared, its sound vibrating through the air and shaking the ruins to their foundation. The ancient defense system had been reactivated, and now it saw the humans as intruders. Its limbs, massive and insect-like, began to tear through the remaining structures, advancing toward them with terrifying speed. "Back to the ship," Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. As they ran, the ground heaved beneath them, forcing the team to leap over widening cracks and crumbling debris. The entity's roar echoed behind them, and Sarah knew they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The real nightmare had just begun. The Dauntless shot through the atmosphere, leaving the crumbling planet behind, but inside the ship, the tension remained thick. Captain Sarah Callahan stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the screen as the planet shrank into the distance, still trembling from the force they had unleashed. The ancient war machine, now fully awakened, was sending signals across the stars, summoning something far more dangerous. "We're not out of this yet," Sarah muttered, her grip tightening on the console. Zeke slumped into a seat, sweat still dripping from his forehead. "That thing was a monster, Cap. We barely made it off that rock. I'm surprised the ship's still in one piece." "Thanks to you," Marla said, her voice edged with exhaustion as she removed her helmet. "You got us airborne in time." Jonas, sitting in the co-pilot's chair, gave a humorless laugh. "Yeah, but we've stirred up a hornet's nest. You saw that thing, it's not just some ancient relic. It's a sentinel. And it's called for backup." Sarah turned to face the crew, the weight of what they had unleashed settling heavily on her shoulders. "We need to send the data back to the Council. They need to know what we found and what's coming." Zeke shook his head. "You think they'll listen? They only cared about getting intel. The fact we woke up an intergalactic killing machine is just gonna be seen as collateral damage." "They'll listen," Sarah said firmly, though even she wasn't sure. The Council had sent them on this suicide mission with little concern for the consequences. Now, they had the information, but it had come at a steep price. "If they don't, we're all dead." Marla stared at the monitor showing the quadrant behind them. If that thing was a defense system, there could be more of them. A whole network, maybe. And if they're all waking up? Sarah nodded. Then this quadrant won't just be dangerous anymore. It'll be a war zone. The thought hung in the air as the Dauntless cruised through the blackness of space. They had survived, but just barely. The knowledge of what they had unleashed felt like a time bomb ticking away in their minds. As the ship's systems scanned the area, Jonas noticed something on the radar. Captain? We've got company." A fleet of ships appeared on the monitor, too many to be a coincidence. They weren't Council vessels. Their sleek, unfamiliar design and the ominous energy signatures they emitted meant only one thing: reinforcements from the ancient civilization. "They found us," Sarah said, her voice steady but cold. "That signal we tripped? It's already brought them here." Marla's eyes widened. "What do we do now?" Sarah's gaze hardened as she stared at the approaching fleet. "We do what we always do. Fight." With a flick of her wrist, she activated the ship's battle systems. The Dauntless prepared for combat, engines roaring. The galaxy's deadliest job had just gotten even deadlier, and the real war was about to begin.